Good morning and welcome back to Ashley's Homestead Adventures. We're going to be doing a butcher day today, and we are going to be butchering turkeys and rabbits. So I'm going to set you guys down. The first thing I need to do is let the turkeys out, let them roam around, and mark the ones that I would like to butcher today. And then of course we'll show you the end product. We will be turning all of this into dog food this time. We have enough in our freezers for ourselves that we're just going to turn this all directly into dog food. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about is why we do this. Super bright. So I get asked all the time, how do you possibly kill these animals that you love so much and that you take care of? And the answer to that question is, killing these animals is hard. If it's not hard, then there's something wrong with you. It is always hard to take a life, and we appreciate every life that we take to nourish our bodies. Some of my animals have names. I am diligent about making sure that they have the best life possible while they're here on this earth, but we know eventually they will end up in the freezer. So the reason why I'm able to do this is because we wanted to get away from factory-raised food. My animals that I am eating have a way better life. They are loved and they are cherished for what they are. And I feel more comfortable eating food that comes from my farm that I know I have loved than eating something that comes from a factory where they're raised by the thousands. I feel comfortable eating my animals because I know that they have a good life. Okay guys, so we have gone a couple of days. We got busy butchering and just didn't have time to do the video on top of the butchering, and that's okay. We are still going to make dog food, and I guess I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why I choose to home make my dog food, and just give you some, maybe some ideas and some of the research that I have done through the years of making my own dog food and some of my, failures and successes. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what we did is we went ahead and we put all of the turkeys and all of the rabbits in a roaster. And I have this roaster by Oster, and I just set it to 250. I just set it to 300, and let's see if I can do that. And then I roast my turkeys inside, and then I put the turkey outside or in a refrigerator, or rabbit, whatever meat I'm cooking in there, and I put it outside to cool. Right now it's it's like 32 degrees outside here, so I let it cool outside until it's cool enough to touch and take all of the meat off of the bones. So, and then this is what it looks like. As you can see, it's pretty much just falling off the bones. And we will take all of the bones out. The dogs can't have the bones once they're cooked. And we will make a batch of dog food with this. So I've already done all of the others. There was 4 turkeys and 5 rabbits in total. I have done all of the rabbits and all besides this turkey that we are going to make up today into a batch of dog food. So let's get to cooking. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to get my trash can right down here below me, and I have a big stainless steel bowl, and then I'm just going to pull this turkey out of the broiler and take all of the meat off of the bones. Make sure there's no bones in my dog food. So the reason why dogs cannot have cooked bones is because they splinter. There are some people that do raw cooked and that do give their dogs raw bones, and I do give my dogs raw knuckle bones on occasion from beef that are big enough that they can not choke on. They can't swallow them. And so that's okay. But with these turkey bones, chicken bones, rabbit bones, the meat that we have cooked, they never get a cooked bone because it's dangerous. So just FYI. Also, I would like to address the idea of cooking your dog food, home cooking for your dog, and let you know that you always should ask your veterinarian if this is a good way to nourish your dog or not. Make sure that your veterinarian is on board with you home cooking. That's very important. And also, what I am putting in this recipe today is just my basic recipe. Each one of my dogs, I have gone on to a website called Balance It, and it is a website that helps you balance your dog's meals to their needs. So make sure that you are balancing your dog's meal to what each dog needs. Not every dog is going to need the same thing, and also you're going to need, like my dogs get probiotics, they get multivitamins, and they get fish oil added into their food on a daily basis. And Balance It does have vitamins that you can buy, but you don't have, I'm not saying that you have to get them from there. I'm not affiliated with them at all, or I use them when I first began to kind of figure out what foods have what nutritions in them for my dogs. So it's important to make sure that your dog is getting a complete nutritious diet, and this recipe that I'm giving you it's just the base of that. Does not include any of their extra vitamins, and doesn't include any of their probiotics. So it's just your basic recipe. But we will take my ratio kind of recipe that I use is for a 10-pound batch. I use 70% or 7 pounds of meat, lean meat, not fatty. My dogs do not get pork at all. It is 15% fruits and vegetables, and that just depends on A, what I have coming out of the garden, or B, what I have had stored. Sometimes I will need to buy, I'll need to buy frozen vegetables from the grocery store when I can find them on sale, frozen green beans, frozen corn, frozen peas, carrots. My dogs eat apples, pears, blueberries, raspberries, just whatever I have at the time, I will put in their dog food to make 1.5 pounds or 15% of their 10-pound batch. And then you need a pound of, or 10% found that my dogs do the best on brown rice. And again, that's amazing. I just, look at that. So there's the bone, and the meat just slid right off of it. I love this roasting thing. It's amazing for this. So 1 pound of a carbohydrate, I use brown rice. Some people prefer to use white rice, or oats, or quinoa, or barley, whatever you decide that works good for your dog. It took a lot of trial and error. My dogs don't particularly care for white rice, and I just feel like brown rice is better for them. That's a personal decision. It was a lot of trial and error for me when I first started. I found out that one of my dogs actually doesn't do well on red meat. I have a dog that, weirdly enough, doesn't do well with eggs. So every dog is different, and you kind of have to figure out what works best for your dog. And one of the, I'll finish the other part first. So then you'll need 5% or 0.5 pounds of an organ meat or an offal. I tend to use a lot of heart and a lot of liver for mine. You can use kidneys, you can use lungs, whatever works for you. I have just found a good, reliable source for hearts and for liver, and it's very easy for us when we butcher to take those things and save them for the dogs out of our animals that we butcher. And when you're not going to see me add a offal meat or a organ meat to this batch, because we pretty much left the lungs in this turkey, and we didn't clean them to human grade specs. We left a little bit of the lungs in there, and so I'm mixing in the organ meat in with the meat. So to give that to you a little simpler, so that you can write it down if you want to, it is 70% or 7 pounds of lean meat, 1.5 pounds of fruits and vegetables, 1 pound of a carbohydrate, and 0.5 pounds of an organ meat. And then, of course, on a daily basis, or you can, if you have one dog, you can choose to add in your vitamins in your batches, however you choose to do that. One of the things that I feel is really important and really helpful is to just use the internet as far as learning what vegetables and fruits your dogs can eat. And if you're cooking up a batch of food and you've got organic vegetables in your fridge that you don't think you're going to get to, but you're not really sure, just search. Are bell peppers okay for dogs? Or is broccoli okay for dogs? Or is pears okay for dogs? I can tell you some of the common things that are toxic to dogs that my dogs never get. My dogs never get nuts besides peanuts. They never get onions, and they never get grapes. There's a long list of things that they don't get, or that they get very little of, or only when I'm medicinally treating them with an herb or something like that. But those are the main things that, like when we cook up a roast for ourselves, it's going to have garlic and onion in it. The leftovers cannot go to the dogs. That's just a standing rule in my house. One reason is because I like to know what goes into my body as well as into my animal's body, and this was one more way that I could know that my dogs are getting good quality, ethically raised meat and food, because we make their food off of stuff that we raise. Now, that's not saying that it's not okay to go and buy chicken breast at the grocery store. If that's your means, then that's awesome. It's wonderful that you're even trying it. I wanted to decipher and be able to control the ingredients that my dogs are getting and try to eliminate as many of the chemicals and the preservatives that were getting put into their body. And, you know, kibble is designed to be shelf stable, and it has a lot of things in it that I do not feel my dogs need. And also, there are recalls on kibble frequently. You know, you go and if you're a country person, or even if you're not, if you go and you buy several bags of dog food, then, you know, all of a sudden there's a recall on it, and the store's a long ways away, or what have you, or you've been feeding your dog a dog food that has something wrong with it, and other dogs have been getting sick off of it. That's a scary situation, and nobody ever wants to be in that kind of situation. Kibble is cooked at a very high temperature, and I did a lot of research about hot and cool foods. And as far as inflammation in my older Labradors, it was important to me to try and feed them things that were going to help with all of their old dog body ailments. And I looked into a lot of hot and dry, or hot and cool methods of cooking. That's why I cook all of my meat at a very low temperature. And kibble is cooked at a very high temperature, and a lot of the nutrients and what they actually put into kibble are lost. And let's face it, a lot of the kibbles out there just don't have good ingredients in them. You know, like, what is chicken byproduct? Well, you can guess what it is. So that's why it became important to me to know what I was putting in my dog's body. So balanceit.com is really good. YouTube is great. There's a lot of veterinarians out there that are holistic veterinarians, or, you know, there's YouTube videos of veterinarians talking about home-cooked food. Facebook is actually a really good outlet for home cooking. There's lots of groups out there that will help you and answer some of your questions. They have huge amounts of files on there to help you kind of navigate through it. It seems really scary at first, but I feel like this recipe that I have, as far as ratios goes, is just a really good way to start. And it's just a base. It's just something to get your foot in the door and get you started on feeding your dog something more wholesome, and or maybe, you know, helping a dog that has, you know, ailments, upset tummy, stuff like that. I do want to talk a little bit about fat, and dogs cannot digest or process fat like we can. It is not a good idea to be giving your dog meats that are high in fat, such as pork. There are some people out there that feed lean ground pork. That's their deal. I do not ever feed my dogs any form of pork unless it is a dehydrated pig ear that I have dehydrated myself from my own pigs on my farm, Wiggly Butcher. I will give my dogs dehydrated pig snouts, pig hooves, pig ears, have done at home after, you know, we've butchered all of our hogs, but I do not buy any of the smoked ones at the store. And all of the fat that is on, you know, say if you find a lean steak, a lean beef steak, or anything that you have that comes to you from the grocery store or even from your own farm, no matter what, trim any fat that you can off of it. What I like to do with these is I cook them down, and then I cook them down with some water, and then when I drain the broth off of it, after it has cooled, I take the top layer of fat off of the broth. So I eliminate as much of the fat of the animal as I can before it goes into my bowl, my mixture. So here is my mixture of my turkey, and now we are going to weigh this out. And I have pre-cooked a lot of the stuff for this to make it go faster for you, but I'm just basically going to weigh this out and make sure that I've got the right ratios. So I just have I have to crouch down in order for you guys to see me and see what I'm doing here. So I just have a little scale here, and it's just a little cheap scale, kitchen weigh scale, and I'm going to zero it out, and then I'm going to add 7 pounds of my shredded meat. Okay. Now I have weighed out my pound of rice already. This is just, let me show it to you, just regular old brown rice. And I'm going to go ahead and just put that in. I make my rice in my rice maker, but you can make it up on the stovetop or any way that you prefer. So there's my 1 pound of my carbohydrate. Now for my my fruits and vegetables, I did vegetables with all the other batches, and so I'm going to use up my fruit that is getting kind of wrinkly. I have an apple here. I have some pears that are getting kind of wrinkly, and so I'm just going to weigh them. Oops. I'm just going to weigh them out, and then I'm going to go ahead and cube them up, and then just add them right in raw. There's 1.5 pounds. You'll notice while I'm doing this that I am taking the tops and I'm taking the cores out. You never ever want to feed your dogs any seeds that come out of well, pretty much anything besides like strawberries, obviously. I should reiterate that. You don't want dogs to have the seeds out of apples, pears, no pits. Avocados are a no-no for dogs, my dogs. No, pits of peaches, apricots, nectarines. I always take the seeds or the pits out of the fruits that I am preparing for my dogs. And that is just because they are toxic as far as everything that I have read. And again, a lot of home cooking for your dogs is a matter of making your own opinion, checking with your vet, and then of course taste testing with your dog. There's a lot of moving parts in making your own food, and I want to help encourage you to do this and show you how simple it is. But it's important to do your research and also consult with your veterinarian on what is okay and what is not okay, and start in small quantities. So a lot of people ask me, well, how do I start? Do I just, make up a batch and start feeding it to my dog? No, you do not do that. You start with a topper. So that would be your dog eating its normal food that it always eats, and then getting just a tablespoon or two of your home-cooked food on top of its meal. Now, what toppers are really good for is if you've got a dog that has got a sensitive stomach or is an allergy dog. Toppers are really cool because you can just make up one chicken breast and just top the dog's food with the chicken breast. They're getting a nutritious meal in the food that they have always been eating. I mean, obviously they're doing okay. So by adding just one ingredient at a time, like the chicken breast, on top of the food, just a couple tablespoons or a tablespoon even, that will allow you to see if your dog is going to have a reaction to the chicken breast. And so you can start really small that way. Then, with my dogs, what I did was I started, say one of my dogs gets 2 cups of food twice a day, then I would add in a half a cup of my home-cooked recipe into their food for a week or so. And then I would up it to a cup until they got to the point, over the course of a month or so, till they got to the point to where they were getting the full meal in the home cooked. So this is what it looks like. Right now, we have added our shredded turkey, we've added our pears and apples, and we've added our rice, brown rice in here, and then there is also some turkey lung in here. So they have all of the ingredients in this. Now all I have to do is just package it up and put it in the freezer for a later date for when they need more food. And I'll show you what it looks like when it's all mixed up. So now I'm just going to put this food into this container. We bought these, I believe, at Costco, and they are just, they've got the measurements on the side. They're just restaurant, industrial. It's not industrial. They're maybe it's industrial grade. I don't know. Word. But they're just for restaurants and things like that make big batches of things. And so it's this big rubber tub with handles on it, and then it's got a lid. And we put the dog food in here when we make big batches, and then we put it in the freezer so we can just pull it out as we need it. So that is what it looks like all mixed in together. Put my lid on. Okay, that's that. So we got 2 and you guys. I hope that you have the encouragement now maybe to make your own dog food for your dogs if that's something that you desire to do. Just remember to consult with your vet and dive in. Your dogs will be very happy, trust me. All of mine are. I have 4 dogs of varying ages, varying breeds, varying sizes, everything from Labrador to Chihuahua, and they all eat my home-cooked food along with their vitamins and their minerals and their supplements. But it's a natural diet for them that I know where their food comes from and I know how it's sourced, and that's important to me. So happy cooking, you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Yours truly.